guys, it's John Moore with the Texas College Football Show, and once again, we're doing a Game of the Week breakdown, and for all the Texas FBS schools, you guys know that what I do here, and Drew Myers is joining me from Drew TAMU. You know the channel, guys. You go join him. We're going to preview the big game of the week, the game of the week for me. There are two schools playing each other that I cover. Texas is playing UTEP, but that is not a big game. The big game is the one that Drew and I talked about when we did our preview for the season, but this is the Notre Dame week. It's here. It's exciting. I know you're excited. Hey, man, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, man, not a problem. Happy to be here. Man, this is a game we've been looking forward to. And, yeah, I think you chose wisely because I think for one of the main schools in Texas and A&M, this is the game that can kind of show you where the team might go this year.
It's absolutely. There's no way. Look, last week it was easy to choose Baylor SMU. I actually covered it and got to be there in Ford Stadium there in Dallas. It was a great time. SMU really did it first class for the media there. But no, this is it. It's going to be a fun one. There will probably be some other good games going on with the schools, but nothing like this. This is two top. Personally, close to top 10 teams, in my opinion. Definitely, A&M, I think, came in at 16 this week. I probably, if I had a vote, would have them a little higher than that right now. There's still some questions. You've got them. Texas has questions. There's things they're working through. But, man, I've been impressed, and I'm going to show you what my preseason prediction was, guys, and then I'm going to show you where I'm leaning this week. How are you excited?
Man, I'm so hyped. I mean, this is the one we've been building for. I think A&M really looked at these first 3 weeks as a lead up to Notre Dame. I think we saw some experimentation early in the first two games. I think we saw this team kind of force feed a couple areas offensively.
Yep.
And it all leads to this, man. It all leads to this. And now you look at this game, not as necessarily a must win for A&M, but think about what winning it could do. So, yeah, yes. Man, I'm so amped. It's always fun to play against Notre Dame, national brand, Rudy, all that stuff. I personally love playing this team. I wouldn't mind if we played them, within every decade or something like that. It's a matchup I always look forward to. I look forward to it last year. Came up short last year. But, yeah, man, this is where things really get started after a couple of G5 openers.
Yeah, and if you guys want to know what the specifics are of this, obviously it's this weekend at 6:30 p.m. They're going to Notre Dame. It's going to be on NBC or Peacock. Notre Dame's favored right now that's supposed to be 6.5 points. Sorry about that. Yep. And the total is 49.5 over under this week. I'll tell you what. I appreciate A&M. I know Texas has done it too. There's a couple of schools, Baylor and doing with Auburn. I appreciate the ones that get out there and play some other power schools. Like you said, yes, A&M could lose this game, but it means nothing. It means nothing because if they get into the SEC and get hot, they're still a playoff team. A lot of people had this game as a loss for them anyway. Obviously, you want to see A&M win this game, and for you especially as an Aggie that covers them and as a former Aggie. But this is a big one, but it doesn't hurt, and the reason it doesn't is because the Texas A&M University, like some other schools, have the stones to get up and play a good school to start the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been that way for a few years now. I think 2018, you went on this run. You played Clemson home and home, did a home and home versus Miami. You had a Colorado in there. That one only went halfway because of COVID. Now you get Notre Dame, and it's nice to schedule these brands. It does make things difficult because you got a hell of an SEC schedule coming up. But again, this kind of gives you an early opportunity to really get all hands on deck, not necessarily dress rehearsal, but effort and just game plan, and you get to see what your stress points are. I mean, nothing's going to reveal what you need to work on like a game versus Notre Dame or a game versus Ohio State. It's going to tell all. It's going to be a great litmus test. Again, not a must win, but one that would feel really, really nice to get.
Absolutely. It would feel nice for Aggies, and I know that. So where are we sitting right now with both these schools? Obviously, A&M is 2-0. Last week they beat Utah State 44-22. A game that look, it had its moments where A&M you would have liked to see, but that's happened with every school. If you've noticed, Georgia had their own little hiccups and stains on their win last week. Everybody runs into these, but again. Didn't cover the spread, but A&M was in total control the entire time. The only problem I see in this game is Notre Dame had the week off. They had a bye week, so they've had 2 weeks to prepare for you guys coming into this one. But what have you seen so far, and what have you liked?
Yeah, and John, how often does that happen, right? The week 2 bye week. I mean, they say teams make the most improvement from week 2, from week 1 to week 2. How much can you get done from week 1 to week 3 with an extra week of practice in there? Because week 1, you're kind of playing with your hair on fire. You're kind of just learning your team as you go. They actually get 2 weeks to reflect on that sucker. So that's a big deal for Notre Dame, because they get to go back to the, back to the practice field for a week, really kind of adjust things, really think about things, and really get some extra game plan in for A&M. That's to be to their benefit. But I do like what A&M also had as their kind of runway into the season. I think that's another great way to go about things, because obviously versus UTSA, that game was pretty close in the third quarter. A&M runs away with it. I think you see some holes in the run fit department. I think you see a running back that's able to go for 175 on you, and that's going to raise some concerns. And I think A&M went and addressed that specifically versus Utah State. Not a lot of success running the game. They had some success passing late. But for A&M, what I've really seen for 2 weeks now is a team that's absolutely dominant for stretches, but then just kind of takes their foot off the gas, gets a little lackadaisical, has some penalties, makes some mistakes. So when A&M's on, they're on. Like, there was a drive that was a 3-and-out, and then the very next drive, Marcel Reed goes 6 for 6, beautiful touchdown drive, perfect touchdown drive. And we really just see flashes of both sides. It's been more good than bad, obviously, 2 comfortable wins. But really versus Notre Dame, what we want to see is the team play a complete game. Absolutely. I think you've seen the good, you've seen the bad. Let's see if Notre Dame focuses you up, because this thing could go one of 2 ways. The game could either focus you up, you play your best football because you know the opponent ahead of you. Heck, you could even say A&M was maybe looking forward to Notre Dame and knew they had a couple dress rehearsals on their hand the first 2 weeks. You could say that. We don't know if that's the case, but you could say that.
Sure.
Or you go to Notre Dame and they amplify all your weaknesses that you saw in week 1 and 2. So we're going to learn so much about this team versus Notre Dame, because you've really been out there grinding and learning and practicing through the first 2 weeks. Not to take anything away from UTS. I think it's a really good football team, even though they're 0-2 right now. Yeah. I think that you really, really got some good work in those first 2 weeks, but we got to make the good be the normal.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And that's happened I'm a UT guy, and I like UT. UT's done the same thing. Of course, Arch has had his struggles. He's looked horrible that first game. Last week it looked a little better, but there were still some questions that go there on that. But Marcel Reed, we're going to get to quarterbacks here in just a second. I kind of feel like in both Texas and A&M, you're playing 2 teams you should beat the first 2 weeks. You should control them and beat them pretty well the first 2 weeks. At some point when they got ahead comfortably, they just kind of let's be vanilla. Let's kind of lay back. Let's play our normal playbook, and let's force openings and holes and do it without having to get creative. We're comfortable. We're comfortable with what we are. If we need to ramp it up, if somebody all of a sudden they get back in it or get within a couple scores, we'll ramp it back up. I kind of felt like both teams did that. They just kind of took the gas off, like you said, and they just kind of, hey, let's work fundamentals. Let's do our thing. And then it was hit or miss, and people were going, what's going on? Is there a problem? I don't think there was a problem. I think you get ahead. Yeah. You got to be a little more protective, and you start seeing some 2s and 3s get in there too to get some time.
Oh, yeah, and a late touchdown versus Utah State, and UTSA had a late touchdown like in the last minute of the game, so you had a backdoor cover versus UTSA. Versus Utah State, you had a couple of guys go down with some scares, but everything's supposed to be okay with Trey Zune and Marcel Reed, left tackle and quarterback. Both of those guys from reports could have come back to the game and should be good to go for Notre Dame. But in versus UTSA, you saw Casey Concepcion really only get half the snaps in the game because he was dealing with some cramping. So you're very conservative. You're very careful. You don't want to show your whole hand against Notre Dame to Notre Dame before you play them. And to be fair, I think, A&M did do some stuff early in those games to just get the comfortable lead, to get the win, but then shutting it down. But the one thing that was a little frustrating was, you shut it down, but you also had some mental lapses once you had the control of the game. I think specifically versus Utah State, late in that game, I think you had a drive, the second touchdown drive by Utah State. You had 2 penalties on that drive. You got beat deep on that drive. You just got to clean up when maybe the game is feeling weird or there's sudden change, like a penalty or a coming out of the half. A&M's been weak coming out of the half. I'd like to see that cleaned up outside of just being vanilla versus the first 2 opponents. But I totally agree with you. There'll be a lot more to show in a game versus Notre Dame.
Absolutely. And coaches will do this. Look, I cover Major League Baseball, and you see this all the time with the Texas Rangers. Their big stars are Corey Seager. Corey Seager says, Al, my ankles kind of feels weird. They're going to yank him and pull him out. They're like, we need you down the stretch. We don't worry about it. Casey Concepcion, like you said, a little leg cramping or whatever. Sit down.
Yeah, exactly.
We're in control of this game. Let's get people looking at that. And why risk it? That's not what we're going to do. Casey Concepcion was unbelievable that first game. I mean, runs back a punt, leads the team in receiving yards. That's a pickup. I'm telling you right now, he's going to be a problem. He's a little bit small, but he's quick and fast. And man, Marcel's got somebody to throw to there. I would have set him down too. I mean, if he'd had a sniffle, I'd have said, sit over there, especially when you're up. You know what I mean? When you start getting up by points, let's just don't let them score. Let's get going and do that. Now let's look at the quarterbacks in this game. Here we obviously got Marcel Reed so far on the year. Impressive. 41 for 62. He's thrown for 509 yards and 7 TDs. No interceptions so far. And CJ Carr, who, by the way, played well. First-year starter for Notre Dame. He was 19 of 30 for 222 yards. A couple of TDs and interception. He was off this week. That's why those numbers don't look the same. That's not for the that's for the season, but they also had a bye week. Tell me what you think of Carr and A&M facing him.
Yeah, I thought he was impressive versus Miami. I think that game could have gone a lot differently with a different redshirt freshman quarterback. I don't obviously wasn't a perfect game, had the interception, made some mistakes, but I think as far as procedurally and managing a game and specifically late game performance to get Notre Dame back into that game that seemed to be out of reach for a while there, I thought it was impressive. And of all the mistakes you hear Notre Dame fans kind of highlighting coming out of that game, I think the shining light was that they have a quarterback that they're happy to build around, and it's going to get better from here, right? That was on the road. He's going to come home. He's going to have that comfort level, having played a game versus a high-level opponent in Miami. And, I think if we were looking at holes in this Notre Dame team, I think going into the year, you might have said, okay, let's get after this young quarterback, but he's gotten some good stuff under his belt. And we saw them try to make him comfortable in that game versus Miami early in that game. A lot of quick hitters, a lot of RPO, short passes, just to get that under his belt. And I think that paid some dividends later in the game for him. So, and I thought the performance was really, really nice. And with Marcel, I think it's been a very, very, I'll use the word promising couple of games. Obviously, it hasn't been perfect. He's passing 66%. He's missed a couple of guys. But I think what you wanted to see from Marcel Reed, you've gotten that. And that's the willingness to be a pocket passer. Because last year, you saw him kind of get caught up in, should I run here? Am I running too early here? Maybe getting caught up in that decision-making and maybe freezing a little bit in the headlights there. Yeah. But we've seen him progress through reads. We've seen him stand in the pocket. We've seen him step up in the pocket. Again, not perfect, but all the progression you would hope for through 2 games. And now with a great dress rehearsal, he played like 2.5, 3 quarters in both of those games. Can't wait to see him for a full game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree. And it's why as a fan of Texas, I'm tapping the brakes. Everybody be careful on Arch. I mean, Arch did not play as well as CJ Carr in his first start. He looked horrible. And what CJ Carr, I mean, you would rather have CJ Carr than Arch on that. But I look at Reed, and that's where I look at Reed and go, see, this is all we need is to look at Reed progressing, maturing, turning into a good quarterback. Everybody chill out on Arch. He's going to have to get in. He's going to look silly again. And maybe he is. I don't think he's a bust. I don't think he's unfortunately, the hype everyone gave him was ridiculous. He may just be a normal quarterback, which is what anyone would hope for. I love looking at Marcel Reed, and it gives you confidence on my team, who I cover. Hey, look at Marcel. He has progressively become a better quarterback. Like you said, no interceptions. I mean, I don't care who you're playing. If they're weaker teams or whatever, he didn't make poor throws or mistakes. His percentage could be up. What is the percentage of? Did he have some drops in there too?
There have actually been a couple drops. I think 2 drops last game, 1 to the tight end and 2 to a receiver. So yeah, it could be inching closer to 70. And to be fair, he's missed some receivers, right? He's had some misses, but I think he's seeing the field really well. And there's obviously levels to it. Like, we're on a progression arc here, and he's getting through this progression arc. He's not the quarterback he's going to be, but he's definitely not the quarterback he was. He's taken some steps, and I think he'll continue to take steps because he has a heck of a receiver group around him and an offensive line that we think could be pretty dang good this year too.
Absolutely. And missing throws happens to every quarterback. It's how you miss. Did you miss into the arms of someone else, or did you miss an overthrow or throw too wide, or in some cases bury one into the ground like we've seen Arch do a couple times? Hey, there's good misses when the result is, let's go ahead and punt it out of here. We missed that 3rd down. That's fine. Instead of, well, now they got the ball on our end of the field. Okay, so let's go in what we players to watch for on offense and defense. We're only going to do A&M. We're not going to cover it Notre Dame. They're not in my purview. Tell me on offense, who are the players we want to watch this week?
Yeah, I want to see this receiver group that's looked so good so far against 2 G5 opponents be able to create the same separation they did in those games versus Notre Dame. Notre Dame has a heck of a secondary. They have a couple of cover guys, especially their lead corner and Leonard Moore, who can shut down anybody in the country. But right now, we Aggies feel like we might have one of the better receiver tandems in the country. So we're going to see good on good here, or at least get a litmus test to see, how good this receiver room can be. Because you can't be one-dimensional versus a defense like Notre Dame. I know they showed some holes versus Miami, but that was a week one, and Miami has a really good front seven on their defense. I think this is going to be, on their offense, a really good offensive line on their offense. I think we need to see versatility. We need to see receivers get open. We need to see that not be one-dimensional. We don't want to have to just grind our face against the wall running the football. So I'm looking at the receivers to get open, and I think this running game, though it hasn't been spectacular early, I think we know it's there. I think the averages per carry, I think that's there. I think Le'Veon Moss is averaging like 6 yards a carry. Ruben Owens is averaging something similar to that. Versus week one, we were talking about this off air. Where was the running game versus UTSA? A&M barely ran the ball versus UTSA. They were really trying to force feed this passing attack and get that thing clicking and working and build that chemistry early. So there's a level of confidence in this running game. So that needs to come to fruition. Notre Dame's definitely going to test this offense in ways that we haven't been tested before. So I'd like to see what has been good remain good.
Yeah, and it's funny, you and I did talk off air because I asked what was the deal on the because I watched it and I was like, what in the world?
Yeah.
Because you've got two great running backs, and then you pointed to me, they didn't really run the ball that much at all, and it wasn't that they were getting stuffed or things were happening. They just didn't really pursue it as much, and it didn't matter. They controlled the game again on UTSA, and I was like, okay, makes sense, absolutely. On defense, who do we need to watch?
I'm going to give you a couple of rooms here. I think the defensive end group is very, very paramount to A&M's success for a couple of reasons. I think, first of all, they need to keep it up. They're getting after the passers great. Through 2 games, I mean, teams are fading the drop back passing game because these defensive ends, even on the interior linebackers, the blitzes they are throwing in these 2 games, they're getting home. We had Cassius Howell get 3 consecutive sacks, completely shut down a drive. Versus Utah State last game, I really like the pass rush that A&M has at edge, and I think it could be one of the better units in the country in terms of just getting after quarterbacks with 4. However, in that UTSA game, that same group that's such a good pass rusher suffered in run stop. They suffered setting the edge. So we're going to need to see the good continue, and what's been kind of lackluster, at least through half a game, be a lot better. And to be fair, they completely shored that up versus Utah State, but that was Utah State. I think UTSA's offense is a tick above what Utah State was, but we did see at least the mistakes go away for that unit. I'm going to also look at the safety group. We really like Marcus Radcliffe, and I think he's going to be a really promising, strong safety for A&M. The free safety, Bryce Anderson, he's been under a lot of scrutiny by Aggies lately, I think for some fair reasoning. It's been a couple years where his kind of run angles and run fits they've left a lot to be desired. Now, he's a good coverage guy. He's our clear-cut coverage safety. He is our deep high, single high safety. He is that guy, and he has a pretty good feel out there. But you're going to need your safeties to tackle against the Notre Dame offense because at some point in this game, they're going to get past that first and second level. They're just going to do it. That offensive line is too experienced and too good. Even with the kind of uneven game they had versus Miami, they're going to clean it up. They're going to have some success, and you're going to need safeties to tackle. So I'm looking at that singular player as a guy that holds a lot of cards for A&M in this game. And I know I don't like putting a lot on single players, but he's a senior. He's been around a while. This is his money year. I want to see a step forward for Bryce Anderson. And again, this defensive end group I think is paramount in the game.
Perfect. Okay, here we go, guys. Now listen here. So A&M's the underdog. If A&M wins this game, what is the key to the victory? Tell me on offense, what's happened on offense if A&M wins this game?
Yeah, I'll go back to my players to watch. I think you have a passing game early, and it disallows Notre Dame to sell out for the run. I think if you're not successful getting open on islands, they're going to throw a lot of man coverage your way. I would think with their secondary look, unless they feel that A&M's put enough on tape to do otherwise. I think there's going to be room to get these guys open if they have the ability to do so. So my key to the game: pass successfully, pass early and often, and that'll open up your entire offense. So I'm really looking at Marcel Reed on the road. He was good on the road a couple spots last year, rougher on the road a couple in the South Carolina game last year, but really solid at Auburn, really solid at Florida, solid in the bowl game, away from Kyle Field. Let's see that from him, and then let's see these receivers continue to get separation.
Absolutely. Okay, now if A&M has won this game, what has been the key on defense?
Oh, it's going to be run fits. I think I looked at that defensive end group, and of course, edge contain has to be there. But beyond that, we also had run fit mistakes. We had guys, maybe running the wrong play at times, guys taking bad angles, guys taking eye candy. We have to be disciplined in attacking as a unit defensively against this running attack. Notre Dame Ran the ball surprisingly very few amount of times versus Miami. I don't think that'll be the case versus A&M. I feel like they're going to see what A&M put on the tape against UTSA, giving up some runs. They're going to think, okay, we can attack this. I think A&M secondary is better than Miami's secondary, but I think maybe Miami's run stop ability as a front seven is better than A&M's. They are going to test the running attack. They're going to test A&M's run defense. I like A&M's bodies on the interior defensive line. I like A&M's defensive ends. They have to play well. But just overall as a unit, you have to play the run well. You have to be disciplined and gap sound in your run defense.
Yeah, if you can take away one aspect of it, take away the run and force it to be a passing game or whatever. Yeah. And I'll tell you right now, CJ Carr being a redshirt freshman, whatever, pressure on the quarterback always leads to a better secondary. You and I have discussed this before. That's just the reality. So if you can apply pressure to the quarterback, that opens up your secondary because they don't have to hold as long.
Absolutely.
In cover as long where receivers tend to, anybody can get open if you give me enough time. I could get open on a starting cornerback in this league. If you're going to give me 15 seconds to run around in circles and find a place to get open at some point. That's the way that works. Okay, guys, we're going to get into my prediction. I think, are you making one later tonight?
I'm going to make one tomorrow, but I'll give you my early lean on this game for sure.
Okay, but before we do that, guys, I've always said I was going to do this. I'm going to keep up with what my preseason prediction was. And Drew was here with me when we did our preseason prediction. You see, I'm 2-0 with A&M right now. I did tell everyone when I did my prediction shows and all of that in the preseason that I reserve the right as the season goes on to change my mind. I have not done it yet in the first 2 weeks. I am only doing it one time this week, and I think it's this game right here. Wow. So I did it for this game. I have them going 9-3. Listen, I'm not some A&M homer. I'm a UT guy. I love giving Aggies crud. You know that. I love to give Aggies crud. You love to give Longhorns crud. That's the beauty of this game.
That's what we're supposed to do. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. But I'm feeling it. I just feel like put together right now, I think that there was a little bit of looking forward in both the two games before. Look, UTSA moved the ball on them some, and yes, you would have liked to cover the spread against Utah State. I still say they did not open the playbook. I still say that A&M was reserved. They had the game in hand. You never doubted for any second that they weren't. And Marcel didn't look wrong. You know what I'm saying? Marcel did not look bad. I've looked at a quarterback that looked bad the first week in Arch Manning. Looked a lot better last week, but still has some questions that you're going to be answering. He still looked at times he was making bad throws. I've just seen Marcel Reed grow and grow, which gives me also, like I said earlier, confidence on Arch Manning. You just got to get more experience, and that's what does it. I'm just glad Arch isn't some cocky kid out there that's running it. He's a very humble kid. I've changed my mind. So, guys, here is my prediction. I have A&M winning this game 28-24 is what I see on there. I think the defense steps up. I think in this aspect of it, CJ Carr, who seems to be good, and they've found themselves a starter, he's played one game. He's going to make the mistakes that new starters make. We all see it. We've all seen it with Marcel Reed sometimes last year in that. I just think A&M has the quarterback with more experience who will keep his composure more and can keep them in this. And I think at a point, if A&M gets ahead, defense is going to step up because it's a team game. And you feel like you don't want to let down your offense. If they're doing it for you, you're not going to let them down on defense. Sure, Notre Dame will score some points, but this is where I'm leaning, guys. I'm going against my mind here.
Yeah, I really like it. And I like the concept of inviting CJ Carr to make mistakes. He's still a young guy. If you can shut down or even slow down the running attack, they're going to have to pass. And I think A&M can have some success there. This really comes down to who is the real A&M, right? Because there were lulls in those games. We saw lack of focus. I think just lack of the high level of play you establish at some points in those first two games. It kind of goes away at times. Or in the UTSA game, a slow start. You play a dominant third quarter, right? Outside of that one big run.
Right.
Can we sustain that? Can that be the real A&M? And I think there's reason to believe they can. I think kind of lapses in focus and kind of taking your foot off the gas is maybe a byproduct of what you have ahead and what you have at hand. And, that's not a great place to be, but sometimes that's just human nature. So if A&M can go out there and play their best for a full game, after seeing A&M for 2 weeks, I think A&M's best is enough to beat Notre Dame, but I'm not sure if I'm there trustworthy enough to make the pick just yet. I also preseason have Notre Dame beating A&M because I think
saw that.
that Notre Dame has the ability to run on A&M, and I'm not fully convinced that A&M has proven me that that's not the case. Even though Notre Dame didn't show that in week 1, even though Notre Dame showed some weakness in the offensive line, I still don't know that A&M can take that running game away. So right now, I'm still a slight lean Notre Dame. There's another factor here. It's the fact that A&M has lost 15 straight road games, I think against top 10 opponents or ranked opponents, something like that. It's stretched back for years, since like 2015 or 16 or something like that. It's been a long time. A&M's history on the road is bad. But here's the last thing I'll close with. If Elko is the coach that we want him to be at A&M, if he is the guy that we think he can be, this is a way to prove it right now here in week 3 in 2025. I'm not saying he has to win it to prove it. He doesn't have to win it. But if he wants to show us right here and now that he is the guy of the future, this is a winnable game that's at hand that you can go get.
Absolutely. And it pains me. I always loved when Jimbo was just driving you guys crazy.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
But I think the difference and why I started leaning there, I just think there was some mic'd up things I saw about Elko during the games and all of that, and how he gets onto his players and what he does during the game. And I'm like, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. Yeah. And that pains me because I love giving my Aggies crud, but I think you guys have hit. And I think the difference is Elko. He's had success everywhere he's been as a defensive coordinator. He did well before coming here at Duke. I like him. It pains me that I like him, but I think he's a good coach. And you know what? The state of Texas has 2 good coaches in an SEC program, and it's really good if both of these teams are good. It just is so good for the state. It keeps talent in state, and it's more fun. When your rivals are and you're just giving each other crap all year, and when you're both ranked, it's going to be that much more special. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. And we actually play each other now, right? It's not just keyboard talk. It's not just hypotheticals. Right. We actually play every year. So when both teams are strong, Texas, the state is even better for it.
Well, let me tell you what, it's worse if one team is in the tank and the other team's good, because anything in a rival game can happen. You would rather that loss at the end of the year be, this is the number 4 and number 8 team playing each other at the end of the year. So that loss may not hurt you. Going into, if there is a play for that one playoff spot, we'd rather it be that than Texas is number 2 in the country, A&M's number 19, and they've fallen down, and then they come and upset them because that can always happen in this game. We've seen it. I'm 50. I'll be 58 Friday. I'm telling you, I've been watching this game for a long time, and this game, it always seems like that the team that's never supposed to even be in it does something crazy.
Yep, 100%. That's the beauty of a rivalry game, man. That's exactly what could happen. And at least in this scenario, if we're both good, at least Texas, the state, gets some representation in the playoff. Unless SMU makes it again, who knows? Who knows? But yes, that's exactly right.
I was impressed. A&M, I don't know if you got a chance to watch that game at all. SMU really controlled that entire game till the end.
Yeah.
And being there. And then all of a sudden they had 14-point lead with like 8 minutes to go and lose it there. It was just crazy. Drew, get back to it. I look forward to seeing what your prediction is when you make it tomorrow. I have stepped out. I have gone against my preseason rankings. I have A&M winning this. If I'm wrong, I won't cry over it, because you know how I am. Watching A&M lose is okay for me. It's not going to hurt my feelings at all. But good luck to the Aggies this week. I'm saying that. I'm crossing my finger. But good luck to the Aggies this week. Hey, I picked it, so that's what's going to go.
I hope they make you look good. I hope they make you look like a smart man for doing that.
Hey, it will only help this show, right? That's the way we do it. Drew, Thank you so much. Good luck to the Aggies this week. Guys, until next time, we'll see you at the gridiron.